Hi, welcome to Pebblebrook Village. I am Peony, and this video is going to be, or episode, kind of bonus episode, is sort of a trailer introduction to go into with the name of the podcast, where it came from, sort of, and the direction that I see this going, and my intentions with it, and why I started it. So first off the bat, I just want to be very clear on a few things of beliefs and such, and as I am doing this to build community and provide a welcoming space for the people that want to engage. There are a few things that I just want to be very clear on, and that is that I am anti-fascist, anti-capitalist. I believe trans rights are human rights. I advocate for queer rights, Black Lives Matter. I'm very ACAB, abolish ICE, land back and in genocide in Palestine, Congo, Sudan. That's not all inclusive, but that is just some of the big things that I want to get out there. And if you disagree with any of that, and don't feel like that aligns, then this is not the place for you, and move on. I always welcome conversation. I don't think that I am perfect. I don't think that I am always right. But those are kind of like some of those things that I am not going to budge on, and the community that I'm building is very much under the tenets of those beliefs. All right, with that, about me, a lot of this came about with my experiences in life being a queer and disabled person. I have struggled with CPTSD. I have cognitive disability, dyslexia. I am autistic, and have ADHD, which I may have already said. That's the the crux of that. My short-term memory is what short-term memory. So I do for this. I do show notes often, like little bullet points of if there's anything big that I want to touch on, and that's just, again, because of the way my brain functions. It's hard for me to remember everything off the top of my head. Most of the reading is complete stream of consciousness. I mean, it is, which can also lead to rambling. And that is just kind of the nature of, again, how my brain works. Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on that. I don't think I need to dwell on any of that too much, but if you relate to any of those, say hi. I like to talk to people that have and hear about their experiences with those, with autism, ADHD, etc. Pebblebrook, the name, kind of came from the things I just talked about. I was late diagnosed ADHD, which led to figuring out the autism part of it as well, and unmasking and working with, being very lucky to have had a therapist at the time to work with. I was able to kind of get in touch with where some of the trauma was rooting from, right? And especially where the masking started. And I think that was a key component for me with a lot of my hardships later in life, is that it was a balancing act of 10, 20 masks. Pretending to be a good worker bee and a good capitalist, pretending to be straight, pretending to be perfect at this and perfect at that. So getting that diagnosis and unlocking that then led to me coming out as queer, as non-binary. I think just a lot of stuff started clicking into place, and it was kind of like this, kind of domino effect of a bunch of stuff just starting to be like aha moments, light bulb moments, with grief, right? And realizing that for me, because this was in my late 30s at this point, that I'd gone through a significant portion of my life hiding who I really was. And so part of what I do, and getting into astrology, tarot, the occult, it's been a very grounding thing for me. And if it can, even like what I do help, the old saying, if it can help one person, then it's worth it. And then that's kind of where I'm coming from. And yeah, it's just been something that's been very helpful to me. And when I came out, I chose the name Peony, and kind of joked about Pebblebrook being my last name because I love alliteration. I'm a huge tabletop nerd, and Peony Pebblebrook just sounded like this very Sword in the Stone Merlin wizard in the woods, getting into crazy shenanigans. And I just really like the sound of that. And I don't formally go by that. My wife and I do refer to ourselves as the Pebblebrooks. That's kind of been a thing that has stuck. And so Pebblebrook Village started with the idea of a very physical place, of a community that is, built around living together and living off the land. And so the initial idea of Pebblebrook Village was buying land and building a homestead that was inclusive, and people could live there, and we farm, have chickens, and help one another. And that is still the end goal of my life. That is what I am working towards, whether or not that happens or not. Like, there are some goals in life that just may not come to fruition, and that doesn't mean that we should stop having them. And that is the ultimate goal for me, is buying land and finding a way to share that with community, whether that is just gardening and putting into a co-op, or that is like having actual people on it, and having a community center that I dream of, where there's a library of inclusive of our vinyl collection, our VHS collection, books and stuff that have been collected, recipes, just a whole like resource for people, to help people, in a place where people can relax, in like a community kitchen. So that's kind of where Pebblebrook Village came from. And then with just, I think, being impatient that I wasn't getting anywhere with that, and I've been sitting on a podcast for 2 years trying to figure out what to do. And Pebblebrook Village became this idea then that was more virtual and digital. And that's not, in tandem with, hopefully, but for right now, it's the same concept of building a community that shares and works with one another. I have the tarot readings that I will be doing the month ahead and week aheads. I plan on starting Peony's Astro Cafe, which is an interview series where I sit down with people. We talk about their passion, and look at their birth chart and maybe do a tarot pull too, or something, just kind of see how those interviews go. But like basically to look at like, what is your passion and what does that look like from the birth chart perspective, right? Like where do we see that mirrored in there? I love learning about what people love, and I think it's a great way to also share with other people great things, whether that be cooking, agriculture, other people that are in astrology, musicians, whatever. Just have a conversation and hopefully learn and build community that way. And it very much is of the mindset that it takes a village. And ultimately with this too, I see this as being a Pebblebrook village, being a place where other creators can live. If people want to do their own episodes and podcast and stuff within Pebblebrook Village. I am looking for people that want to do like a kitchen witch show, people that want to focus more on mundane predictive astrology that I don't necessarily focus on, and anything in between, meditations. And it can be this like resource, almost an online grimoire for people to come to and access. I've the people that I've talked to, I've kind of described it as a streaming service adjacent, right? Like it would live not just within a podcast, but a website that has blog articles, podcasts, videos, how-tos, just a whole like very inclusive community of people sharing what their interests are, in one collective place. And that's kind of like where this is going. I'm going to keep doing the tarot. I've already been talking to people about Astro Cafe. It's just when you're doing an interview series, you have to have people to interview. So that'll probably end up being a once a month thing, just so I can take like let's say I have 6 people, record 6 episodes. That covers me for 6 months, and I have a lot more time to get more people to keep it going consistently. And I think that there'll be longer episodes too. Just like I don't want them to feel like rushed or too contained, so I want to give them enough room to breathe. So I think those will be very much like a once a month type of deal. So those will be coming. I'm hoping within the next couple months. It just depends on a great many things there. I think I've pretty much touched on everything. That's the vibe. That's where the name came from. I could go into more detail on a great many of this thing of these things. Oh, I think something that helped me with the CPTSD, this is ADHD kicking in and forgetting something, the CPTSD, and like something that really helped me on my spiritual journey was my experience with psilocybin. And I think that's a fun story and definitely something that can save for a episode it in the future at some point. But that was kind of part of my unmasking and figuring out who I was and what I'm doing type of journey. But yeah, in conclusion, I am going to be working on trying to get the week ahead episodes a little shorter than they've been. I'm trying not to force myself to be any one way or the other. I'm kind of letting them be and let them breathe right now. Not striving for perfection. I'm just getting it out there. But getting the week ahead a little shorter than what that first one was is a goal. And a friend of mine mentioned that summaries at the end would help. So that is something I'm going to work in. I thought that was great advice, so I'm going to work that in going forward as well. And I think that's it. So I will end it there. I love you all, and I will see you next Monday for the week ahead. All right, bye.